All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, East Central. And thank you for tuning in tonight for another session of Facebook Live and YouTube Live, where we're trying to answer and be as transparent as possible all the questions that you have. Tonight is going to be especially about high school. I do want to introduce myself first. I'm Brandon Oliver, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications. And of course, since this is specifically about East Central High School, we have, of course, the principal joining us, Mr. Shane McKay. And Mr. McKay, how are you today?
Fantastic. We're excited and getting ramped up for our kids to come back next week. So we're looking forward to it. Looking forward to tonight having an opportunity to answer our community's questions about reentry.
All right. So again, folks, I did want to remind you right off the top, we do have some pre-formatted questions that we'll go through, and then we'll do a question and answer session. I say this because I don't want you to lose your questions. I want to make sure we get to them. And sometimes some of the older stuff populates out. So just keep that in mind, but we do want to answer your questions after we get through the pre-formatted stuff. And Mr. McKay, let's start right off. We're talking high school, and let's begin.
Absolutely.
So, what's the first thing that we have?
So our students, our advanced video arts, our ECTV, and our advanced theater students got together, and actually while they were doing their synchronous instruction, came up with a video about reentry. And so they came up last week, followed all the social guidelines, all the guidelines the district had, and they put together a video. And I just want to say thank you to the teachers, Mr. McGinnis, Miss Booz, and Miss Howell, for all their hard work, and the students, most importantly. This is student produced, and it's something we're going to be sharing with all of our students on their first day. We'll be sending it out to all of you folks this weekend. So let's enjoy this quick video that our students made about what the day in the life of our students will be when they come back to East Central High School.
All right, so let's take a look at this video.
All right, let's go over the daily health screener before we leave to make sure it's safe. Do you have a cough?
Shortness of breath or difficulty breathing? No. Chills?
No. Okay. Shaking with chills? No. Muscle pain? No.
Difficult breathing?
No.
Chills, headache?
Headache?
No. Sore throat?
No.
Loss of taste or smell?
Diarrhea?
Fever over 100 degrees. Let me go check.
Hey, champ, you're not looking too good. Feels like you got a temperature. How about I call the doctor and you work from home?
You know what? Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
All right, you're good to go. Let's head to school.
The hand sanitizer. Have a seat in the green dot. Good morning. If you use the hand sanitizer and pick a seat with a green dot for social distancing. Good morning. Thank you. Hey, wait, honey. Don't forget your mask.
Oh.
Have a great day. I love you.
Love you too.
Hey, Will.
Hi, good to see you. Welcome. Take a wipe. Please wipe down your desk and materials.
Can I go to the restroom?
It looks like no one else is out right now. Yes, you may. All right. Now the row closest to the door may leave. And now row 2. And now row 3.
Line starts over there. Keep on walking down the wall. Great job. Good morning. How are you? Line starts coming down and goes to the wall.
If you drove yourself, you may leave now. If you have someone picking you up, you may leave now. If you are in a club, organization, or are going to practice, you may leave now. All others, you may now go to your asynchronous location. Have a great day. Go, Morgan.
All right, Mr. McKay, that was fantastic.
They did a great job. Again, the students produced that, and just says what the types of exceptional students we have at East Central. We're very blessed to have such great kids that work hard and do the right thing. So I just smile year to year when I get to see any of their work. So
Yeah, student produced, and I mean it looks so thorough, Mr. McKay. And I think I should rename you as Mr. Thorough, because it looks like you and your staff at the high school have done such an awesome job thinking of everything, really. And that video really shows, how much thought and how much planning y'all did. It's fantastic.
I'm really happy with where we're at, but I know we got a long way to go. We know that it's not perfect, and we're going to continue to learn as the year goes on and what works and what doesn't. And as new situations arise, we're going to always do the best we can to make good common sense decisions to make sure that we're keeping our students and our staff and the greater community safe, and ultimately opening up our learning environments to maximize on student opportunities. So thank you.
Real quick, not a question, but just a comment. Ashley Ash says, the tall blonde guy is my handsome son. So Ashley, he did a fantastic job.
Absolutely. Great kids. Great kids.
All right, so let's jump into questions, Mr. McKay, beginning with the first one. If my high school student is coming back face-to-face, what will their first day be like? What's Tuesday going to be like?
So for our veterans, the ones that are coming back for their first time, they always recall that we have a central location that students go to pick up their schedule. They get a map, and there are just numerous amounts of staff that are out to help them to find their classrooms. They get reacquainted with their friends. We're really treating Tuesday, the 8th, and even Wednesday, the 9th, like it's the very first day of school. So students that are returning, we are going to have our centralized locations. We actually will have 3 spots. One by the amphitheater, one in front of the game gym foyer, and then one over by the math science building, where we'll have tables set up with counselors and staff, and it'll be broken down by alpha. So we can spread the students out by social distancing. They'll get their schedule, printed out version of their schedule, and they will get a copy of the campus map. And then we have about 36 more staff that will be in the area and vicinity to help students be able to find where their classrooms are at, answer any of their questions. We did think about trying to find a way to do like a freshman orientation like we've been able to do in years past, but unfortunately, due to the guidelines, we weren't able to open up our campus. I mean, we typically fill all of our parking lots on those nights, and I think we can have anywhere from 2 to 2,500 people on campus. So we couldn't do it in a safe manner. So this year, our students are going to be doing the very best we can to learn on the fly. So really the first day for us is going to be just like it is the first day of school when they were to come back last year. So that's how we're treating it, to make it as simple for our students. All of our teachers know that there'll be several of our students who do not know what buildings are what, so they're all going to be available, and during their conference periods, they're going to be out in the hallways to help if students are lost. So we're ready to help support them as much as we can, and things are going to be really intentional and really deliberate, especially early. We think we've got to start slow so we can go fast later. And so I think you saw some of the intentionality behind that video. And then we're going to treat Wednesday, the 9th, the exact same way, and slow things down so they understand it. So that's what we're expecting to do on the very first day of school. And our teachers are expecting, and it's going to be a good experience for our kids.
All right, next question leads right into this. If my student is coming back face to face, where do I drop them off at? Where do I pick them up?
Great question. So we have had to make some adjustments, again, due to social distancing. So those of you in the past who would go to the stadium parking lot and would drop your child off there or even pick them up in front of the Hornet Stadium, we're not allowing that this year. That's a faculty-only parking, and the other reason why is if you do go in there, you're going to get trapped by about 20 to 30 buses, and you may not get out. So what we want to we're changing that into a bus drop off, especially in the afternoon. So the areas to drop off are in the front of the high school. I think you saw it on the video, right there where the flag poles are. You'll see the American flag, the Texas flag, and the proud EC flag flying. And then in front of Gym 3, which is down at the bottom of the hill, there's a nice long drive through where you can drop your child off. If your child starts at John Glenn, if you're a part of one of the CTE programs or even Cass Lead, there's a parent drop-off area right there. We call them the Whataburger awnings because they kind of look like the roofs at Whataburger. And then if your child starts at the South Campus, they can be dropped off there. We're just asking, please avoid the stadium parking lot because we don't want you to get caught up in the buses, and we're trying to reorient due to social distancing.
We have a map too. Yeah. Let me see if I can bring that up.
Yes,
just
sir.
Switch my screen here. Okay. So we do have a map. There's the map right there.
So you can clearly see the area that's in the blue. That's the areas that are good to drop off and pick up in those designated areas. So you can see the roundabout in the front of the high school, the main high school campus. You can see down at the right-hand side of the screen, that's Gym 3 parking lot. And then if you go up a little ways, you can see John Glenn where the tennis courts are. That's also a student. And then you can see the South Campus, which is to the left of the screen, or if you're looking southbound of the high school football stadium is there. And then you can see right in the middle, that is a no drop-off and a no parking area right now. And students are not allowed to park there either. We're asking students all to park. And I'll talk about that here in a minute, but also down in the Gym 3 parking lot or in the other designated areas that we give them.
Okay. I mean, again, you have this all planned out, Mr. McKay. It's so awesome to see that. I'm sure it's such a relief for our families. Next question is, so my student drives, where can they park?
So we prefer the Gym 3 parking lot. That's the one that I showed you. It's the larger one. If you saw a graduation last year, that's the parking lot where we did the graduation at. But also, of course, if they have a class at John Glenn, if they finish the day at the John Glenn, or if they start the day there, there's parking there actually near the tennis courts that they can park at, as well as there's parking on the South Campus that they can park at as well. And I know that many of our athletes, our baseball players and our football players, they're choosing to park. We've got with them in athletics, they're parking over by the baseball field. So that's another area that students can park. I will remind students we're not going to really fuss about it the first week or two of school, but we'll eventually have to get your parking decal that's $10. Then we'll get you a decal to put on your vehicle. and we register that with the police department, so that way they know whose vehicle that is, and then plus we can monitor for safety reasons who's coming and going inside of our parking lot. So we can work on that. But right now, that's the least important. We just want to make sure you know where you can park.
All right. Again, I think it's worth bringing up the map just one more time, just to kind of reorient ourselves. And there you see where the students can park, as you mentioned, by the gym, by Gym 3, by John Glenn. There's the drop off and pickup right in front of the main office, and then the student drop off and pickup over there on the South Campus. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So just so it's been a long time for some folks, Mr. McKay. So
well, many of our kids are used to parking in that stadium parking lot, and we also didn't want to, and I'm sure parents would appreciate this. We don't want our kids to be commingling with their vehicles in buses. That usually doesn't mix well. So I know that our teens consider themselves great drivers, but I've got one myself that's a young teen driver, and I know that they're not as good as they think they are. So we just want to make sure they're safe, and that's why we've made some of these adjustments as well.
Okay. All right. So next question: what are the expectations for students when they're on campus?
We're just calling it the daily basics, and we're going to go over this again on the first day of school in their classes. It'll be posted on the Google Classroom for those that are remote that may be coming back onto campus or may make the decision in a few short weeks that they want to come back to campus. So the daily basics for us is the first thing is the daily screener. You saw that in the video. We're actually shifting to an online platform but right now at home, we're asking you to just make sure if you have any of the signs or symptoms, please just stay home and check in with your healthcare provider and do that. We're asking our students to wear their mask properly, which means that we're covering the nose and we're covering the mouth. We're not really calling it social distancing at the high school. We want to just call it physical distancing because they can still be social, but they've got to be social from 6 feet apart. And so we're going to really emphasize that. We've got some pictures that we've taken around the campus to show how we are trying to indicate to students where they can sit and stand in order that they always know where 6 feet is, because I think sometimes 6 feet may be 6 feet for you and I, may be different for other people. Hand sanitize and hand wash often. I think the biggest thing that students will notice right away is the amount of hand sanitizers that are all around the campus, to include the cafeterias, the outside eating spaces, to up and down the hallways, into every single classroom, outside the restroom, inside the restroom. They're everywhere. And we're essentially saying when you walk into a space, hand sanitize. When you walk out of a space, hand sanitize. It's for their own safety. And then the last thing is to clean, use the disinfectant wipes to wipe down your personal learning spaces. So whether it be your desk, your chair, but let's say you're in a math class and you're using one of the graphing calculators. We bought covers for all the graphing calculators, and the math teachers may say, wipe the graphing calculator down before you put it back in its bin. So, obviously that's for your safety, and that's also for the safety of the other students as they come through. You could see there's a couple of pictures right there. They are right by the entrances all around the building, places for you. If there wasn't a logical place for us to put a hand sanitizer, we use these stands to put them on, and they've got them on both sides. Those are all around the kiosk as well, outside when kids are out there in the morning or during lunch. So they're everywhere.
Okay. And then what about masks?
Yeah, so, they're mandatory. There's no option on that. If we're going to have a safe reentry, the expectation on campus is that we are wearing our mask. That includes students and staff, and it's non-negotiable. And the only time that we are allowing our students to take the mask off is when they sit down to eat. And then when they get back up, even to throw their trash away, their mask has to come back on. So anytime they're up, they're mobile or in a classroom or outside, even navigating between classes, masks are always on. And then they can take it off, obviously, when they sit down to eat breakfast or to eat lunch. And then the moment they move, they've got to start to put their mask back on.
All right. And then we also have a great example of physical distancing, not social distancing, but physical distancing.
Yeah. So we wanted to be social. They miss out on that. So this is just last week, our cross country kids were up here. They're beginning their workouts, getting their conditioning in because their season starts really soon. And I went out there to see how it was going. I was just really proud of the kids and the coaches. You can very easily tell that they've been very intentional about making sure. It's hard to tell, but every single one of them was wearing a mask. There wasn't one student that was sitting out there participating in cross country. Obviously, when they're running, they don't have to wear their mask. But the moment they got done running, they all masked up right away. And then they were doing their stretches. So this is just a great example that it can be done on campus, and we can do it with relative ease. It will take discipline, though, and so that's the biggest thing that we're going to be reminding kids all the time is to maintain your 6 feet, please.
Yeah, I know that's one of the frequent questions we get is how are we policing, or who is policing the masks, and
administrators, teachers, staff, any of the adults on campus. And really, to be honest with you, what we would prefer is our students to police themselves and say, hey, we all owe it to each other. Please put your mask on. And that's the best way. It's student led. And that's really what we want is to create that movement that we all have an obligation and a responsibility to keep each other safe and to keep our families safe. And to do that, we all got to wear a mask. So if we're serious about getting to come back and do this thing called school face to face, what we miss, and see our teachers and see our peers, then we all got to do this in a responsible manner. So hopefully our students will help lead to that.
And what is the consequence if a student just refuses to wear a mask?
Well, again, we're going to isolate the student, get a hold of the parent, have the parent come pick the child up, and we'll talk about potentially moving to remote learning. Maybe that's the best option. Really, we're not going to get into negotiating that is that again, that's a non-negotiable. So every circumstance is different, and but we're always looking at how we can use it as an opportunity to educate and move from there. But we actually have a space determined, and we have a method that we're going to be following, and we just hope our students are respectful and responsible and safe enough to wear their mask the entire time when they're here. And we've had some students coming in now. Again, like I said, we've had a few student groups, and we have a small subset of students that are on campus this week, and we've not had one problem. The kids have all been very respectful and very responsible for that. So it's been great.
Good. All right, so let's talk lunch and breakfast. Can you describe the lunch and breakfast process? How will the high school be enforcing social distancing or physical distancing during these unstructured times?
Yeah, that's a great, I really appreciate you having that question for us. So we have, and I think we have a map. I don't know if you can pull, there's a map up of, so the cafeteria for kids that are returning, for a freshman, it's not going to look, to them, they don't know what it looked like before, but it is way different. We've gotten rid of all the long tables. All we have are these octagonal tables. We're only allowing 2 students per table. Each table is roughly 10 feet apart. So we're actually maybe slightly more than 6 feet social distancing. And you can kind of tell in the background of those pictures at how far apart the tables are from each other. Hand sanitizers on each one of them. When they come into the cafeteria, whether it be for breakfast or lunch, there's one entrance and there's one exit. And when they come in the entrance, I want to think about, it's like going to either a concert and you're going to the AT&T Center and you have those track lines that you have to stay in until you get to deposit your ticket and go into the concert. Or if you're going to the airport and you're in the TSA line, once you enter the line, we have 6 feet social distancing dots, and kids will stay in the same line, and there'll be an administrator at the end directing them what line to go to get their meal. So think about when you're at HEB and they have an attendant at the end and they say, okay, line 17 is open, line 5 is open, line 13 is open. So for our kids, they're used to being able to go to different lines for different meals. Now they just need to know that the meal options will be the same in every single line, and it's all prepackaged. So they just get in a line, pick their meal option, and go sit down and hand sanitize and take their mask off and eat. But we've showed a Google map here. It indicates, and we've actually, you can't see from here, but we have big red arrows with duct tape on the ground showing all the entrances into the cafeteria and the exits going out. So I tried to draw some with the map tool, and you can see there's no entrance on certain sides. So we try to create a one-way flow. If you have do you have the other map, Mr. Oliver, that also
Yeah.
shows all the eating options outside? You know, we do live in South Texas, so 90% of the year we've got great weather. So we're going to highly encourage, and believe it or not, the majority of our students sit outside and eat. But you can notice that we have multiple food carts working with child nutrition, food trucks, and we have outside serving lines. And even over by the amphitheater, over on the right-hand side of your screen, we're going to allow students this year to sit in the amphitheater with their friends, of course, 6 feet apart, and they can eat out there. And there'll be every one of those food carts and outside serving lines have all the exact same food that they'll have inside. So it'll save students a lot of time. They don't have to go and wait in line in the cafeteria. Plus, if we do this, we can maximize our physical distancing while we're eating, because even our tables outside, we're only allowing 2 students per picnic bench outside to be able to sit and eat. And they, again, have to sit across from each other. And there's lots of tape and reminders and administrators and staff that'll be out there reminding our kids that for everyone's safety, we need them to do that.
All right. All right. So next question. So we talked about the cafeteria. What are passing periods? Always a big question for, especially for high school. Can we talk about passing periods and what those will look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you saw in the video how the teacher was releasing them row by row. That's to be very, to space our students out naturally. So that's the first thing we're asking all of our teachers to do. We want our students to understand that we've given them 10 minutes in the passing period. In the past, it used to be 6. And we're doing that because we know it's going to take us a little bit longer. The other thing is if you see tape down the middle of the halls, it's designed for you to stay on the right-hand side. You're going to see some buildings, specifically the math science, when you get into the catacombs of it, you get into the back hallways, they're only one way. Teachers are going to be helping to remind you, all you have to do is follow the arrows to be able to help you do that. And the big thing is stairwells. We have stairwells that are also only one way. And again, that's to maximize on the physical distancing aspect. I think I put one in there too of what some of the stairwells will look like. We tried to be really clear with arrows, signage, telling you wrong way if you're going the wrong way, as well as one-way arrows, trying to show the kids. So like the main stairwells right in the main entrance of the school, that is now an up-only stairwell. And then if you go to the north or the south end of the campus, several of those are now down only stairwells. And then the only really 2-way stairwell we have in the entire facility is the one outside in the main eating area. And the big thing that students need to know is if I'm going up the stairs on the right side, I'm going to be forced to turn right, because there's actually now a partition at the very top of those stairs that will not let you turn left, because on the right-hand side of that is an enter-only door. On the left-hand side, the down arrow, that is an exit-only door. So teachers are going to be helping you. You'll see big arrows on the floor telling you that. And again, we try to do everything we can to space our students out as much as possible, really trying to be intentional about how we do that. And we think that the process we have now is a good start. And I think we'll learn some things in the first week of what doesn't work. And really, again, we need our students to help us to, you don't walk side by side walking down the hallway. You can walk one in front of the other, but you need to be 6 feet apart as best as possible, especially when we have the 2-lane hallways. But that's what we've done right now up to this point for our passing period. And we feel like it's going to work really, really well. And since we do have many of our spots are outside, we know that'll provide some relief for some of that social distancing, because kids will have an opportunity to really space out as they're transitioning from main building to south, our main building to CTC, or to the agricultural complex, or to John Glenn, or to the South Campus.
All right. And so let's talk about restrooms and water fountain procedures.
Yeah. So every restroom on our campus has a maximum occupancy sign. You could try to potentially be the third person that can go in there, but the stalls are locked, so you can't get in them. We're trying to do that to make sure that we're maintaining our space. So we're just asking our students when they go to the restroom to be respectful of that. If it says maximum 2, you go in, there's 2, just step back out, wait on the dot. When somebody clears, you go in. We will have teachers monitoring it during passing periods to give students reminders. Hey, we can only have 2. You just wait right outside. And then with the water fountains, what we're asking our students to do is bring a reusable water bottle, use hand sanitizer whenever you use the water fountain. So before you touch it, use the hand sanitizer. After you fill your water bottle, use the hand sanitizer. And the same thing, it's not in these pictures, but the restrooms have hand sanitizer on the outside of the door and even on the inside. And of course, inside the restrooms with plenty of hand soap, plenty of towels, trash cans for you to be able to wash your hands inside of those. So we're really trying to make sure that we help each other out. And then of course, we'll have safety monitors and administrators. There's a picture of one of the water fountains with a hand sanitizer on it. And we'll be monitoring the restrooms throughout the periods, and so will administrators. So obviously we're going to be asking students to abide by those guidelines, and it's okay if you got to wait a few minutes. We do apologize. But again, it's for your safety and for the safety of others. There are a few restrooms in some of our smaller areas that they may only have one at a time. And you'll see it very clearly when you get to those spots. But those are kind of restrooms in kind of little corners and nooks of certain buildings. It's not the main thoroughfares where we have more opportunities for students to use the restroom. So there's more students allowed in the restrooms in the cafeteria than obviously in the main building, because those restrooms are a lot bigger. But that's how we're choosing to use that. The big thing that we want kids to know is use hand sanitizer when you leave the classroom, use hand sanitizer when you come back, use hand sanitizer before you use the water fountain. When you leave the restroom, wash your hands, use some hand sanitizer before you get back into class. So as often as possible.
Definitely. All right, so let's talk about schedules here. Group A, Group B, or Group 1, Group 2, however you want to say it. But so my child found out they are in Group 1 or Group 2. What if I want my student to come all 5 days of the week?
Yeah, I have a daughter that goes here as well, and I would love for her to be able to come all 5 days as well. But unfortunately, I know that right now for all of us, this is a numbers game, and what we're trying to do is stay within the appropriate threshold for safety. And so we had to make some tough decisions. What we always make the decision what's in the best interest of the students. And then in part of that is what's the best interest for safety reasons. And so if we let every student come back face to face that wanted to come back for 5 days, we could not ensure or do our very best to maintain the safety aspect of everything that we're trying to do. And so what I do want to reiterate, and I know that it was spoken about on the superintendent's message last week, is that once we get the first few weeks under our belt and we get an idea of how things are going, we're going to be able to backfill with kids that are in Group 1 or Group 2 into 5 days a week. And again, a lot of it is a kid by kid basis. Certain circumstances and situations predicate that. Obviously, we have certain students who have a greater need to be here for 5 days based on where they currently stand and the different levels of support that we need to provide, whether it's language acquisition supports, whether it's students who struggle with dyslexia like myself, things like that we know that we probably have to be a little bit more intentional and have our students here. So we're going to do everything we can to mitigate through all of those. But right now it's all about numbers. And that's really the goal, is to try to mitigate to stay within our thresholds right now and for safe reentry.
Okay. And so let's talk about the remote learners. If we chose remote learning as our preferred learning method and wish to change to face-to-face, how will we do that and when?
Okay, so that is a wonderful question, Brandon, and I really appreciate you asking that. So the first thing I want to reiterate to our remote learners is that daily attendance is really important still. We know that you may be itching to try to get back with your students and obviously, with your peers, but obviously it's a family decision. It's your parent or guardian's decision on what they feel most comfortable allowing you to do. So I know you're going to be respectful and honor that decision. But if y'all come up to an agreement to come back, what we're doing is we will be phasing in students who have chosen remote who wish to come back face-to-face at the end of every grading cycle. So at the end of the 6-week grading cycle, be prepared for another survey to come out. We really need full participation when that survey comes out. I know that it seems a bit redundant, but for there it will be only if you've chosen remote and you wish now to come back face-to-face. We need those families to indicate that, so we could begin to look again at our risk mitigation protocols and how do we appropriately work with the current numbers, again, based off of what Metro Health guidance is, as well as what our current level that's being recommended when we go to the COVID screener. So we just want to let you know that there will be an opportunity. But what we do say is that if remote is your preferred option right now, we can't just, anytime a student's remote, want to come back tomorrow, because we wouldn't be able to account for the numbers. So in a few short weeks, we'll be sending out another survey. And when we get that information, then we'll have somebody from our campus reaching out to each family, each student individually, to make you aware of what your learning group would be, or whether you would be a 5-day-a-week student. It's a great question.
And one of the things I want to point out too is we got some questions about this last night, was if I'm face-to-face and I'm doing, group A, group B, do I still do remote learning at home on the days? And the expectation is that, yes, you're participating in school 5 days out of the week.
Yes, sir.
Even if you only come for, those 2 or 3 days.
Yes, sir.
And the other days are remote learning. So the expectation is still there.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of work, attendance, all that stuff.
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you're group 1, if you're here Monday and Tuesday, and then you're home Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then you need to be logging on synchronistically with your teachers on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or asynchronistically, what works best in your schedule, depending on what your family has. And then the vice versa. If you're group 2 and you are not here Monday and Tuesday, and possibly Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because it alternates, then the expectation is obviously you're logging in, you're getting your attendance requirements, and you're engaging in your academic work. Really, really important, again, because I want to remind the families, I want to remind the students that daily attendance matters. So whether you're doing it online or whether you're doing it face-to-face, daily attendance matters, because there is that 90% attendance rule that we are bound by. And if a student, regardless if they have 100 in the class, if they have too many absences, unfortunately, credit is denied. And so now you're having to either make up those attendance credit hours or having to redo the course. And that's a waste of your time and efforts and energy. So it's best to come to school. And that's compulsory attendance law. That's not East Central High School America. That's compulsory attendance law, and we have to follow that.
Yeah. So, the folks that are on, Monday and Tuesday, that doesn't mean they get to stay at home and watch Wheel of Fortune and Judge Judy on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
No, sir.
So,
engaging 5 days a week.
All right. So next question. We were not able to complete the learning preference survey. What do I need to do now if we want our child to return face-to-face?
So we've had staff throughout the last couple of days contacting trying to get a hold of every single family that we did not get a survey. I think I sent a parent link out a couple of days ago asking if you had not completed the survey to please contact the high school at 210-634-7100 and ask for Lisa Sanchez or the academic dean's office. And what they are doing right now is they're getting all of those their students or families who now are wishing to come back face-to-face onto a spreadsheet. And then from there, we're looking again at our numbers, and it's a quote unquote waiting list. And then what we're going to ask those families to do is just wait from a phone call to come back from the school, letting you know what group you're in and what day you report. And what we're saying right now is at this time, if you were to call today or tomorrow, we would let you know that probably the earliest we could bring your kid back face-to-face would start on the 14th. Because again, it's all a numbers game, and we've got to be able to work through that. So that's a great question. I know that some of the parents were a little frustrated because they wanted them to come back face to face. They may not have known about the survey, didn't have a chance to fill it out. So we're trying to do the best we can to mitigate through every one of those. So again, I would call the high school at 210-634-7100. Ask for the academic dean's office or the academic dean's secretary, who is Miss Lisa Sanchez. And she'll be happy to get all of your students' information down if you wish to return face-to-face. And then somebody from the high school will be contacting you back shortly to let you know what group, whether it's 5-day, group 1 or group 2, their child will be in.
All right. And we do want to remind people, we do have a few pre-formatted questions still to go. And then we will do the question and answer session with our viewers. Just want to make sure that we get all their questions in and don't miss any. So let's talk about buses. My student will ride the bus to and from school. What do they do during the asynchronous times?
Obviously when they arrive at school, we want them to grab a breakfast and get a good meal. And then many of their teachers will be offering tutoring during those times. So if their teacher has already reached out to them or had a conversation with them, or they've already been back a day or two, they may give them a handwritten note to say, you can come to my classroom for tutoring. Again, we have to be very cautious and deliberate about that. So we're telling our teachers to give notes to the students to show administrators or safety monitors that they can come in. We're going to be having club meetings during that time. So those that are remote, they'll be setting those up through Google Meet style, because many of those clubs and organizations have already set up a Google Classroom to announce and share information. So those that are on face-to-face will be in the classroom with the sponsor. Some of our groups will maybe even starting to have different meetings during the morning time. So that'll be an opportunity in the morning. And in the afternoon, I think you saw in the video, we released all of the student drivers, all the students who have parents here to pick them up at either 2 o'clock or 2:55. Once they clear out, we'll release all the students that have extracurriculars or clubs or organizations that they go to, because those students will be going. So whether it's theater, choir, band, athletics, FFA, NHS, our advanced CTE programs, because they need time to work on their projects during that asynchronous time. They'll be going, and then the students who are not any part of those groups, we're going to be providing them asynchronous designated areas. So when they get to those areas that they'll be designated by grade level, we will have counselors, administrators, we'll have teachers available in those spaces. We're going to first ask for about the first 30 to 45 minutes. Those students are doing their asynchronous work. And then towards the end of that time, we're going to be doing things on financial literacy, resume writing, college and career military readiness. We're going to be doing counseling guidance lessons. We're going to be doing things through 7 mindsets. We're going to have from time to time guest speakers from different local colleges to talk about entrance requirements. So they're going to have a really great opportunity to engage in things that in a normal school day are kind of difficult. And then again, when buses arrive, we'll be deliberately releasing either the even number buses that'll be over at the stadium parking lot, or the odd number buses that will be in the back of the school for them to safely go. And again, those will be in phases so we can spread the students out. But they're going to have their time to do their work, and then we're also going to be able to engage them in many other things that I know that I would want my children to have experiences in, and I know that it would be good for all of our kids to get to experience.
Real quick, Mr. McKay, I'm going to bring up the sample daily schedule, which all of our viewers can find at ecproud.com. There's a lot of great resources at ecproud.com. One of them is the sample daily schedule. I think I blew it up a little too much there. But I kind of wanted to just kind of simply show this because, people are asking what time does school start. So they'll see Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that period 1 is 9. But that's not necessarily the operational time of the day.
Right.
The operational time of the day starts at 7:45.
Yes, sir.
So let's say I have a kid that goes to high school and a kid that goes to some of the other district schools. If I drop my kid off, let's say at 7:45, someone's going to be there, staff is going to be there, and they have an opportunity to do a lot of things that you were saying, clubs and tutoring and stuff like that. And then the first period, whether you're face-to-face in person or remote, is at 9 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
On that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, whereas on the Tuesday, Thursday, it's at 9:30 and 11.
Yes, sir.
The other thing I think to point out too for the buses is the buses aren't going to be dropping off the students at 9 o'clock or right before. They're going to be dropping them off during the operational time. So it's, if you're planning on taking a bus and I'm going to take it a little closer to that first period time, that's not going to happen. Is that correct?
That's right. The buses will probably more likely be here between 7:45 and 8. So that'll give them time to get their lunch, they get their breakfast, and then from there they can either go to their tutoring or if they have a club that's meeting. But again, if a student drives or a parent's dropping them off and they have the opportunity, they technically really don't need to be here till about 8:50 if they so choose. They could get up in the morning, do a little bit of their asynchronous work if they got to catch up on some things, and then drive and get here by 8:50. So they got 10 minutes to walk to their class. course, do hand sanitizer when they walk in the building and clean their personal learning services down. But again, if that option is available for families to include if a student's driving, they technically, unless they have a club meeting that they need to be to, let's say it's NHS and it's a required meeting that they need to be at, and it's their day to be there, then other than that, they don't have to be here be in class till 9 o'clock. And the same thing goes at the end of the day. Now, our bell schedule had to change, obviously, because we had to include lunches. So we did go a little bit further past 1:55 on that Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. So that also means that if a parent or a grandparent or a family member can pick a child up at 2 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they can come and get picked up. Or if a child drives, we're going to let them go home and do their asynchronous work from home, unless they're a part of a club or an organization or a group that needs to meet, that has projects they need to work on or competitions they're preparing for, or they need to get some extra tutoring. Then they're more than welcome to stay and work with their teachers during that time as well. So we encourage students and parents to find carpooling options and to do that, because again, multiple reasons, helping out transportation, but we also know that some kids may not want to be here for an hour and 15 minutes before their first class starts. And so we're gonna do everything we can to fill that time that's going to make it meaningful and relevant for our students, and they're getting some value from it. So we don't want you to feel, if that's your only option, then that's perfectly fine, and we're going to make it very worthy of your time.
Right. And a couple of things to point out too, again, just as you said, if you have, mom and dad dropping you off, they could drop you off shortly before period 1 or the first period of the day. Or if, you're 16, 17, 18, you got that cool new car and you can, drive it up shortly before the first period of the day. But one of the things that I wish I had back in school is the fact that after the last period of the day, you have so many opportunities to knock out your homework, to get tutoring, to talk to teachers. That beats working all the way, or working in class all the way to 4:20, and then you have a club, you have whatever sport, whatever, and then you got to go home and then do homework. I mean, those kids are. I mean, I know in high school I was looking at those long nights. But the ability to sit there and say, okay, as you said, I think at 2 o'clock was when the last period ends, till 4:20 when the bus comes. I mean, that's 2 hours to knock out homework and then talk to a teacher, get tutoring, and then go home and play PS5 or whatever, and enjoy that time, because it's not always going to be there.
Right.
And so I would have taken advantage of that in high school. So that's a really, really cool idea. I just wanted to kind of bring that up and showcase that. Again, it's on ecproud.com if you want to take a look at that. Let's talk about technology. Will my student need to bring their technology to campus?
So we've issued out a little over 1,100 Chromebooks to high school students. And so if you are coming back face-to-face, we're going to ask if it is a high school or district issued Chromebook, and you're coming back face-to-face. We want you to bring that, because many of your teachers are still going to be navigating through the asynchronous or the synchronous instruction, along with having our students back face-to-face. So much of the work is being submitted through Google Classroom. It's going to make it much more manageable for you to stay on that same platform. But we're really asking if that's the case. Now, understand it's still in your charge and your safekeeping. So you have to still continue to respect the equipment and take care of it. The students are responsible for it. It has been issued. So we want to make sure that they do a good job of keeping that safe, as well as, if you have your own personal learning device and your parents feel comfortable with you bringing it to school, obviously you may want to bring that. But here's what I will also say is I understand too, some families have like really expensive laptops or devices and you don't feel comfortable, and that's okay. We do have devices in our classroom. There's not many, because obviously we've given most of them out. We're waiting for a larger order to come in. And once we do, we'll be working with technology to get a few of those more in our classrooms ready to go. But what I will say is our teachers will have devices in their room if you are not able to bring your device. And obviously, we now know in this day and age that students, much of what they can do they can do through their cell phone, but that's very limited. So again, if you were one of those that received one of our over 1,100 Chromebooks that we gave out up to this point, and you come back face to face, put it in your backpack and bring it. Make sure you bring your charger and keep it with you at all times. Don't leave it behind anywhere. Make sure you keep it in your safekeeping and take care of it, as I know you already have up to this point. But yeah, we prefer if you have that, bring it with you.
And I just want to point out too that we're not talking about, I mean, so this the personal devices, you know, that are not borrowed from the district,
Right.
but, you know, are from your home, they're not really required. So, you know, I don't want families to feel like, oh gosh, I got to go out to Best Buy and buy a laptop or a Chromebook. They're not required.
No.
But if you have it and you feel comfortable taking it to campus, then you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great, thank you for clarifying that for our families, that no, I'm not asking anybody to go out and buy a device. We do have devices in our classrooms, so that's perfectly fine. Yeah, that's a great clarification.
Yeah, because you may have some students that, you know, have their laptop attached to their hip, you know, and they want to bring it to school. That's okay, but you are not required to.
No, not at all.
So let's talk about schedule changes. What if my child wants a schedule change?
Yeah, so we're still getting a few requests for those. I really appreciate our parents and families and students being very patient. You know, now that we're in this world of remote, know that most of that's done through either phone calls or that's done through email. So I know that sometimes it feels as if they're not getting to it in a timely manner, but I know they're doing the very best they can to do it one at a time and get them, because it does take a longer process than what it may seem as from the outside to make that schedule change, because you have to look at availability of sections, you have to look at spaces that are there. But if there's still a need, I think the biggest thing is reach out again to your counselor, shoot them an email, make sure that they know, or even give them a call. Leave them a message, or ask the secretary for the counselors to have them call you back and leave the number, so y'all can discuss the options that are there. Sometimes, again, we're limited by seat counts, we're limited by competitive courses, we're limited by what is in the program of study of your child, as well as does it match their endorsement plan. And so, of course, if it meets all of those boxes checked and there's space and it works without kicking your child out of another class that they may need, then we'll do the very best that we can. We are going to get to a drop dead point, and usually typically that's about after week 3 because of gradings and grading purposes, but obviously it's a case-by-case basis, and we are going to do whatever we can to take care of each student. So if there is a schedule change, we're getting a few calls still, but again, reach out to your child's counselor. And if you go to our campus website, you go to the counseling page, it's got a list of all of our school counselors based on alpha or a special group, and then you can go directly to them and reach out to them and shoot them an email or give them a phone call.
All right, so let's talk about where our kids are going to be, you know, spending a lot of their time in the classrooms. What are they going to look like?
Our teachers have done an amazing job of preparing for being able to teach face-to-face while also teaching synchronously, but they've been working hard to get the rooms set up. So you can see we provided several different options that we show you that maybe our students will experience when they go into classrooms. You can see in the top middle picture, that teacher has elected to stack her desk up against the wall and space all the other desks out in the middle of her classroom. You can see her teaching zone is right there in the middle, so she can see all of her kids that are on Google Classroom, and then she can see all the kids that are sitting in the actual audience. You can look at the picture on the left. All those orange spaces means you do not sit here. And then you see the empty desks. So again, teachers are doing a great job of following the social distancing or the physical distancing guidelines. If you scroll down a little bit, I think we put a couple of extra examples in there. Again, here's another one where a teacher stacked them up against the wall, spaced them out. And then there's another one that you can see the little happy smiley faces. The teacher put the little happy smiley faces on the desk, is at every other row, every other seat up. So there's definitely plenty of room inside that classroom for the students to be able to physical distance while they're in there. So every space is unique. And we have some long, skinny rooms. We have some wide, narrow, short rooms. We also have some classrooms that are science labs. So there's lab tables that are spread throughout the back, and then seating areas in the front. Here's a few more options. You can see an art classroom in the bottom right-hand corner, and the art teachers are basically giving each student one table, and they're sitting another table there to provide that extra cushion. And those chairs are way more than 6 feet apart. That's there. And then you can even see this teacher labeled desks off limits. Do not sit in them. So they're doing everything we can. We're right now, our administrative team is going around and providing support to teachers. So we're helping them to try to navigate their classrooms to make sure that kids can get in there and appropriately distance from each other during instruction. And they're still required to wear their mask. So it's important for us to remember that.
All right. This next question, I'm gonna help you answer it just by shaking my head. If my student is sick, and can they stay home and do synchronous learning?
Please,
please. Going to that synchronous option if you are feeling any sort of symptoms, it is not a penalty, correct?
That's right. Absolutely. They can continue on with their learning as best they can. And, obviously, if they're ill, it's okay. First contact your healthcare provider, and it's okay to call the high school and ask for the attendance, and just make them aware that you're going to go see your doctor. And then that way we can document it appropriately. But it's just important that you communicate first with your healthcare provider. But definitely, we're encouraging our staff to do the same. If you're ill, please stay home. And it's better to be safe than sorry, and out of abundance of caution, we're asking everybody to do that.
And it counts for the attendance.
Yeah.
So you don't need to take a day off. That's what I love about that too. So if a student is feeling ill, or tummy hurts, or I got a migraine or whatever, you can choose to say, okay, I'm just going to stay home and do synchronous learning. And that's really cool, because if you miss a day when you're sick, you have to make that stuff up, right?
Yep.
You have to go back and make up all your assignments and stuff. I always hated doing that whenever I miss a day. I mean, even today, with work, I hate, calling in sick, and then the day I come back, I have extra work to do. It's pretty cool to sit there and say, I'm not feeling that well, but I get to still do my homework, or the classroom assignments and the work, and I don't lose like that sick day,
Yeah.
That's a really cool option.
Again, because like we talked about the 90% attendance rule, and what a great opportunity for kids. And if these kinds of things pop up and they're able to log on and do their work either synchronistically or asynchronistically, they still get attendance credit. They can still stay on track for their learning goals that they've established. And like you, I am very cautious about ever using my days. In 23 years, I've had 9 days away from work in education. So I completely understand it's hard to miss, but in this new world of remote learning and teaching, there are plenty of options.
I'd love that.
Engaged.
You should not feel pressured at all to go to school face to face. If you're feeling anything, it's just, hey, it's going to be a synchronous day for me. That's again, these are, I don't want to say they're opportunities. That's probably not the right word to use, but these are some interesting things that are pretty cool when you think about it. I would have taken advantage of as a student.
We would have never thought of it last year at this time.
This
time of the year last year, we would have not even have thought of this being an option. So, it's a way for us to continue on with our learning, and that's a good thing.
Let's talk about processes for checking students out of school early.
Yeah, we've already had a few phone calls. What do I need to do? I've got to pick my child up. We have to go here. So what we're saying is, you can park your vehicle in the visitor parking. Please make sure that you also have a mask when you enter the front entrance of the school. Our receptionist will warmly greet you. You'll stay in the vestibule in that area. Once we get your child's information, what we will do is we will then ask you to go back to your vehicle. Wait kindly in your vehicle, and then when your child comes down, we will make sure that they've got the pass for them to be able to leave, and then they'll head out to be able to go. We're trying to be as streamlined as we can for our students as well as our parents. And if even in advance, you can call ahead of time and let us know that you're going to be checking your child out. That way we can go ahead and get the pass ready and get your student down. Again, like always, whenever we check a student out, we will need an ID to verify that you are the legal guardian or have rights to check the student out. That's for everybody's safety. And then once you do that, we'll ask you to head back to your vehicle, and then we'll release your student to you. So you'll just stay in that small vestibule in the entrance and then head right back out to the vehicle. So that's the best way to do it. If you can call ahead, we'll get the student down at the time we need to, as best that we can. Obviously, it's a large campus, 52 acres, and so it sometimes takes a while to get to the classroom to get the pass for the student to come down. But and then once you go in and show your ID, then we'll release the student to come outside and meet you.
That makes me think about what we were talking about earlier, is after the last period of the day, and that time from the last period to 4:20, which is, you know, the when the buses are picking up and all that stuff. So if you're a parent that picks up a child and you want to pick them up right after that last period, what do they need to do? Do they need to go to the office or anything like that?
No, sir. They'll be up in the front circle, and just like it's the end of the instructional time, kids we'll be releasing them out. Of course, we'll have an administrator up near the front or the pickup areas, and they can get in their vehicle and they can leave right away and then go home. And the expectation, obviously, you'll go home and do your asynchronous work from your home. You know, and some families may feel more comfortable with that. Only have them here while they're in class and then get them home right away. It's
Sure.
to their comfort level. But no, sir, they do not need to check them out during the asynchronous time. Only when we are in face-to-face instruction.
Okay. Let's talk lunches. You know, can I bring my student lunch when they are on campus?
Unfortunately, no outside food. I know that you know, in the past, a parent or a guardian could bring up Whataburger and drop it off in the office, but right now we're doing everything we can through a risk mitigation. So no food deliveries for our staff. No families or parents will be allowed to bring food up. There's some good news right now. Students will be able to go through the meal line and get a meal regardless. So we'll make sure that every kid has the opportunity to eat. So there's no, if I didn't bring my lunch money today, every kid will get an opportunity to eat. All they have to do is go to the cafeteria and pick that up.
Yeah, I mean, we just, you know, broke that news, you know, that, I mean, even, you know, it was pre-K through 8th. Now it's everybody gets a free meal.
A free meal, breakfast and lunch. And then we're even working right now too with Be a Champ. So our kids that are here later into the evenings will be providing an evening snack and meal that they'll get to take home and eat as well. And again, that's free of charge. It doesn't cost the kids anything. So what a great thing for our kids to be able to have. So you don't have to worry about giving your kids lunch money. They'll get fed when they get to school, and they'll still have great options to choose from.
All right. So the last of our pre-formatted questions, does one group have more face-to-face days than the other? And if so, why is that?
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, the way it mapped out on the school calendar, it's unintentional, but there are some staff development days and some holidays that eat into group one. And so there are 4 less days of face-to-face instruction opportunities for students when you look at the calendar. And so we toggled and worked with, well, could we consider to make some options? We just decided that it was best to stick with what we're calling the A-B format. You have A week and B week, A week and B week. We didn't want to make it A, B, 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 A, B. It's too confusing. So we just alternated the weeks. And you know, again, it's unfortunate. And going back to what I was saying earlier, you could be in group 1 and group 2. We get through a few weeks of this, we're going to start backfilling kids to be here 5 days. So, you know, we know that it's really hard for us to be able to navigate through all of this. And, you know, it's unfortunate we couldn't be equal. We even talked about what if we started B week, and there really was no advantage behind starting B week and A week. And we didn't want to make people more confused, because original communication was we start with A week. So, you know, that being said, unfortunately, there is a small discrepancy of 4 face-to-face days. And really that last day is a half day anyway. So that necessarily wouldn't count. So really it's 3.5 days difference than what we've had in the past. So that's kind of where we're at. And again, there are going to be opportunities for us to get more kids in 5 days a week, face to face. Once we get things, the dust kind of settles when we first start this and we can get into a routine, and we'll be able to start to backfill kids who need to be here 5 days a week.
Yeah, and I did want to mention that this calendar, the face-to-face emergency schedule calendar, is at ecproud.com. Again, ecproud.com is a great resource and has that up there. And I mean, hey, fingers crossed, that we're not going all the way into May 2021, I'm sorry, using this emergency schedule. I mean, we're hoping that it's much, much sooner than that we're going back 5 days a week.
That's right. All right.
All right. So I'm going to look at the comments here and see what we can find here. I'm going to start from the most recent that I just received. What about those in sports? Will he just take snacks in his bag instead of getting food dropped off?
That's a great question. And I'll say my own son and my daughter's an athlete here now, but my son, as he went through 4 years, he ate all the time. So yes, he took his own snacks. He kept them in his bag and he'd snack on them between classes. Obviously, in the world we're in today, we're going to encourage you to wash your hands often and hand sanitize, and don't share. You can't share his food with others. But absolutely, that would be perfectly fine. I know when my son Tanner went here, he was eating PB&J like crazy. He was making 3 of them a day and throwing them in his bag. And so absolutely, that is perfectly fine for him to be able to have something to eat later on in the day to fuel him. Now, we're working with athletics right now, and they'll have an opportunity to start their practices a little bit earlier during some of that async time to try to beat the heat. And take advantage of the times when they're backed up to their athletic period. So it's not going to be able to work out for all sports, but we're working right now with Coach Areola and the coordinators on how we can try to maximize on that time. So even some of our kids can take the bus home if possible and finish practice and get on the bus and not have to worry about parents coming and picking them up later in the evening.
So this next question, I just want to do an abbreviated one because we have covered this in practically every Facebook Live, and then the reentry and procedures are on ecproud.com. Procedures for a child or teacher feeling sick at school, possible COVID positives. Those procedures are outlined at ecproud.com. If you go to reentry plan, and Stephanie, I don't want to not give your question away. It's just we've answered this one quite a few times, and the plan is out there. But Mr. McKay, if you just want to add on something to that.
Absolutely. Immediately, a nurse will be in contact. The student or the staff member will be put in an isolation area so we can try to minimize any other contact points. And then obviously an assessment will be done, and then parents will be called, or a spouse or a loved one will be called, and quickly we will ask them to not release the student or the staff member until their ride is here. And of course, the nurse will do the escorting out and make sure that all the information that needs to be conveyed is conveyed and what the next steps need to be. But the ultimate goal will be to isolate very quickly in an area that's in our nurses station. And if you've never been to the high school, our nurses office it almost looks like a small doctor's office. It's got many cubicle, not necessarily cubicle, little mini offices. And they've identified one of them as the self-isolation space. So it's to keep everyone safe that even has to go in to take their medication. And if there happens to be a student, they will not have any contact with each other. So, and obviously, if there were any spaces that student or staff member were in, regardless of what results or what information comes back, there will be a thorough disinfecting of that area with our custodial team going in and doing a really good job of cleaning that up really well, making everybody feel comfortable after that.
So parents that possibly may not have received the schedule yet, what do they do? For example, this parent asked, my child doesn't receive her schedule by Monday and she's wanting to be face-to-face.
Well, all the schedules and everything were mailed Monday or Tuesday. So I'm hoping either by tomorrow. Feel free to contact the high school tomorrow. Again, ask for the academic dean's office. We can definitely quickly look up Miss Nast, your daughter's group that she would be in, and make you aware right away of what that would be. So feel free to contact the high school tomorrow morning, and we can definitely look that up and get you that information right away. But again, every student in our high school right now, it's 3,190, all received a letter, regardless if they chose full-time remote. They received a letter from me saying, we're looking forward to continue to engage with you in remote, or you've been identified for 5 days a week, or you're either going to be in group 1 or group 2. And even our students who didn't make a choice for some reason, we didn't have any information, and we just asked them to call the high school and let us know if you wish to return face-to-face. We need to know that. So we sent out almost 3,200 letters Monday and Tuesday. So hopefully that'll be in soon. I'm hoping. But feel free to call the high school tomorrow and ask for the academic dean's office. Or, they'll be the first ones to help you.
I'm going to piggyback on that with this question. And I know we're talking high school here, but, some parents still haven't received anything, or the teachers have not contacted them. I'm going to echo what Mr. McKay said. Call your school tomorrow.
Yes.
And keep calling them. If they don't pick up immediately, keep calling them and get that. I do know that some of the schedules are also on Text Connect. So you can get on the Text Connect and also look for it as well. So for the parents that I'm trying to scroll back up and find. Well, let's tackle this question first. Any idea when yearbook photos will be taken?
Gosh, that is a great question. So we're trying to work with Life Touch, and we're working with our yearbook coordinator on some creative solutions. I think the first thing that we'll start to do is the kids that are back face to face, we'll do a very slow and methodical process of scheduling those. I'll say that our staff all took pictures, and Life Touch did an amazing job. The cameras were all very well spaced out from each other. They wiped everything down with a disinfectant wipe before the next person came through. Literally, it was no contact. They told us, stand on those points, sit down, turn your chin a little bit, and smile. They took the picture like literally we didn't have to touch anything. They got our own personal ID numbers. So it will be the same thing with our students. And when we do that, so we're talking right now about doing face-to-face kids, and then creating the opportunity for students that are remote, doing like a Saturday option, or a day that we do a staff development day option when we don't have students on campus, and setting up areas where families can come in and can bring their child up to take their yearbook photo. That is a fantastic question. And our yearbook and journalism teacher, is having to try to be as creative as possible to get pictures for those things. But we're working through that, Ms. Castleman. That's a great picture.
All right, so let's help some folks out.
Okay.
Cracking my knuckles here.
Oh,
all right, so Yoli Martinez, we have 2 seniors, but on different schedules. I contacted the school, but I've not heard back. We live pretty far by Bronick Lake. Would like to have both on the black schedule, please.
That's a great, thank you for telling us that. Now, again, I know you probably have contacted, I know that our 2 academic deans were plugging away all day long, correcting any of those unintentional issues. Obviously, when we're working off of spreadsheets, it's hard to necessarily know which kids are siblings because we don't have all of the information in front of us. And obviously, you can imagine with almost 3,200 students, you can't know which kids right away. So we're finding them out one at a time. I encourage you to call again tomorrow, ask for Lisa Sanchez, and she can quickly look up on the spreadsheet and can tell you that both of your kids are on the same group. I know that I heard them already talk about a couple of other kids just when I walked in to check on them earlier today, and they were doing that same thing. They had some sibling groups, so they may have been talking about your 2 seniors. I know they're doing the very best they can to get it to all mitigate out, and I would encourage you to call tomorrow, and we can do our best to at least give you the information that they're on the same day. And if we start the week off next week, if it's not corrected by Tuesday, I can guarantee you that we'll have it corrected by Wednesday, because we're probably for the next week going to continue to make corrections and add kids who didn't make a learning choice. So it's very fluid right now. It's not set in stone. We're going to do what we can to take care of families and kids.
On that same note, Vanessa, my 2 high school kids were put on different schedules. I'm still waiting to hear from my middle school student, and also my elementary kiddo was on A. I don't see how that will work. For parents with students in the multiple schools, what can you advise them as far as getting their kids on the same block?
So here's what I'm going to ask you to do is shoot me an email and give me your 2 kids' names and give me the names of all of your students that are in the district. And what I'll do is I'll coordinate with the other principals. I know that obviously it may be between all of us, not necessarily connecting all the dots in our own individual silos on our campus. So if you want to send me the names and even IDs and grades in schools, where if as much information you could send for me of all of your students that attend schools in the district, and then what I'll do is I'll turn around and wrap around with the other campus principals to see what we can do to include our own campus and get you aligned. If you have an elementary kiddo that is in Group A, which for us is Group 1, then we can get all of the kiddos together at the same time in Group 1. I know we've navigated a few instances similar to that, and we just needed to get all of that information kind of collated together. So feel free to shoot me an email. It's at shane.mckay@ecisd.net, and I'll be happy to work that out for you.
Yeah, definitely. I know like you said, it's very fluid, and we're still figuring all those things out. And Vanessa, I hope you're still watching, because that's a really good offer from Mr. McKay. So Nora asked for new students to ECHS, they missed out on orientation and things of that nature. Is there a map with classroom numbers so they can know where to go, since registration was different this year?
What we're going to do is when students arrive on the first day, we'll be making many announcements to what area they need to go to get their schedule, a copy of their hard copy schedule, because they may not know the room numbers. They're also going to receive a map. We also are going to have 36 staff members designated around the campus that are going to be stopping students. So all they need to do is go up to any of the adults and say, "Hey, I'm trying to find this classroom number." To be honest with you, we're gonna all be out helping. Even when we've opened the campus in years past, they get here the first day, they get the big eyes, they get the bright lights, and they still struggle to find their classes on the first day or two, and then they get used to the routine. So we're going to be out. Our teachers are expecting kids to be a little lost, and we're going to be giving them all a map to carry with them the rest of the day. And the maps unfortunately it's a 3-page map because we have so many buildings and facilities on our campus. And so we're going to be around helping to navigate throughout the day.
Right.
But all day.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I know there's some nervous freshmen out there, but there's tons of great staff that will be out there. I mean, I'm in my 40s. I still get lost, right? So, it happens to the best of us. But yeah, lots of great staff are going to be out there and helping direct. Vanessa asked if again, there she is again. My son is in band. Will band practice be over so he can ride the bus home?
Well, to be honest with you, it depends on when his band period would be. If his band period is let's say 4th period or 7th period, and Mr. Garza and the band do not have any kind of organized practice later on in the evening, then yes, ma'am, he'll definitely be able to ride the bus home. Again, talking with Mr. Garza, they're working on trying to bring the kids who are on remote learning back between 3:30 and 4 o'clock to get their instruments and get mobilized to the band practice pad. And so unfortunately, when those days that they're doing it, there probably won't be a bus option, but on the days that they're not, obviously the bus option will be there for him to be able to do it. Then I know they're not doing it every day, and I don't think they're even starting it right away. I think they're trying to get the kids used to the format and practicing during the period, and then they'll be able to ride the bus home.
Many asked, and I already know the answer to this because our special education teachers are working extremely hard. are special ed students getting the services and accommodations they require?
I will tell you, our case managers have been working incredibly hard to continue to provide the appropriate accommodations and even or modifications for students to help level the playing field, to help all students to be successful and be able to access the curriculum as all students on campus. And so they're working in conjunction with the art committee, but as well as with the co-teachers and with the special education department. I know there's been many of our staff that have been reaching out to the parents and families to have conversations. And I know that our special education teachers work hand in hand with our teachers in our core content areas to make sure that they're working together to provide the appropriate levels of support and accommodations to meet the child's IEP goals. So that is a great question, and we're going to continue to work hard to help all students be successful in accessing and attaining that curriculum as all students.
And keeping on the special education, where will the special education buses load and unload at the high school? We
were making the adjustment pre-COVID to the back of the school. That's where at the end of the day they've always loaded. But now, due to the fact that we may have more and more families dropping off in the front circle, we didn't want to commingle our special education buses in the morning or in the afternoon with drop off and pick up potential opportunities for families and students. So all of that will be in the back of the school at the same bus circle in the back. And we have an area that's more closer to the softball field that they'll be getting on and off their bus there. They'll be staged in that area. Great question.
I like this next question because it's kind of cool. My daughter has a doctor's appointment at 2:30 on a day that she is scheduled to be on campus. Can I just keep her home and allow her to participate synchronously?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's a really great example. So, I know you don't want to use the opportunity, but what a great opportunity if, you don't have to necessarily worry about driving all the way out here, checking her out, and then driving all the way across town to get to the doctor's appointment or where it's at. Hey, today you're going to learn at home synchronistically. Just log on and your teacher will be there, and you'll still have the same learning opportunities you did when you were at school face to face. So, and the biggest thing is she doesn't have to worry about missing classes, and you don't have to worry about providing a note for excuse. So it's great.
Should we still be receiving calls and notifications if our child is marked absent, tardy, synchronously, asynchronously each day?
Unfortunately, right now there's no mechanism within our current system that we're using to try to account for the attendance. It is getting entered by our attendance clerks, but because it's after the fact, it's not sending the trigger for the announcements. That way, what we have been working with our teachers on is if a student hasn't shown up in school asynchronistically or synchronistically engaged in their learning for 2 days in a row, then the request is we make a contact, whether it be an email, talking points, request to the parent. Hey, is everything okay? We miss Shane. Is there anything that we can do to help out? Just to kind of let the parent know that they haven't seen him for a couple of days. So that's what we're trying to do right now to make sure that parents are staying notified if their child's not engaging.
So, I always love hypotheticals. So how are the kids going to eat during lunch if it rains like today? How will the kids two per table policy work?
That's a great question. So we have floated a lot of ideas out there. Well, first I'll tell you is one of the videos that you saw, the kids were sitting outside. That is a massive awning. And no matter how hard it rains, you do not get wet under that awning. And then we also have all the other outside seating. I'd say about 70% of them are also all under awnings. So that it does provide some weather protection, but obviously depending on inclement weather, we are going to be able to open up the game gym. We can get 78 students in addition to what we can get in the cafeteria. We're opening up the game gym foyer, which then provides us another opportunity for 54. And then we've looked at other various spots to include gym 2, which is an auxiliary gym that's right off of the cafeteria, and as well as even the lobbies of the Patterson in those kind of areas. So we have worked through that. We feel like right now, based on our numbers and the 3 lunches, we can definitely accommodate all students to have a spot to sit inside to be able to eat and not have to worry about being out in the elements. Because we also know this is also South Texas. So it could be beautifully and sunny 1 minute and very dark and scary looking outside in the next, like I'm looking out right now in my window. So yes, we've considered that. That's a really good question.
So a couple of bus questions. First, I know the schedules. We got a question about the schedules. Are those, close to finalized, the ones that are online? How will we know that my student has a place to sit on the bus? And then what if there are too many students at a bus stop? What will happen then?
I know that transportation has been very diligent about getting with us on the numbers of students that are coming back face to face, and the ones that we know will need transportation. They've been trying to reach out to families to find out for certain if those children are going to need to ride the bus or not. So I know they're trying to do everything they can to accommodate all of those. I can't speak to necessarily how they're going to be handling if there's a situation where there's too many. I would imagine a very simple radio call for a secondary bus to come and pick up in that location. We'd rather the kids be safe than to put too many on there. So I think those are all going to be situations that kind of have to take place step by step. And just like we're going to learn what's working and not working on the campus level and make micro adjustments as we need to along the way, we know that our transportation department will do the exact same to keep our kids safe and not put them in a position where they will be compromised and having too many students on a bus. So I know that they're trying to do much of that on the front end, reaching out to the campuses 4, 5, 6 times a day. Sometimes it feels like asking for our most recent numbers, and we feel like saying, we just sent it to you 2 hours ago, but we'll send it again, because we know that they're really working very hard to make sure that they're prepared from day one to be able to accommodate every student who needs to ride the bus. And if they do know that there's going to be more students than can safely ride, then I know that they're working on creating additional routes in that same area and lagging the time. So I know that'll be something that they're working through.
Right. And then you can always contact Transportation Services. Their number is 210-649-2332, 210-649-2332. And transportation, I mean, it's going to be fluid. I mean, don't base first day on what, fifth day is going to look like. And I have a feeling it's going to be very fluid and very changing. So I'm only going to do a couple more minutes here, so we'll get some last questions in. Sports again, will there be after school practice? Will there be transportation for the students that are doing sports in the morning and afternoon?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. So depending on the sport and depending on when the athletic period is, some sports will have to practice before school. So I'll give you the example. Varsity JV volleyball right now is coming in because I'm usually here when they get here. They're getting here about 6 o'clock in the morning. Those kids start driving in about 6:15, and they start practice pretty early in the morning. And then they go into their async time, and then the kids right now are leaving or their parents are coming to pick them up around 8:15. And then our freshmen are coming in towards the end of our async time, and they're beginning practice at that time. What we are working through right now is if there is a fourth period or seventh period athletics, working with our athletic department and trying to find ways that we can get kids to campus and let them actually start during that athletic period and go into the async time, get time still to do tutoring and get time to do that, and then be able to catch the bus at 4:20. I will also say, as a former coach here, even at East Central and in previous places as well, knowing that, us being able to have those opportunities for practice, there will be times that we do need to go after school or before school to be able to be prepared for our opponents and to get better. And so it really depends on the sport, and it really depends on what periods they have their athletics. So if you're a middle of the day athletic period, unfortunately, you're going to have to book in your day with practices depending on your level and what those coaches determine. But right now for football and volleyball, in our current approach, cross country is the same, swimming is the same. they're able to still catch a bus home in the afternoon, depending on what time they're able to start practice and get up to school, and then whether it's in the morning or the afternoon.
And so let's say you have a morning workout. Are the kids, able to shower, or are they going to go to class stinky? What's the?
Okay, yeah. So here's what we worked with athletics. If they are a remote student and they are coming up for practice because the parents still feel comfortable with them coming up, they're not allowed to go in and shower. They get their things, that they go out, get in their vehicle, and they either drive home or the parents pick them up and they go home. Because again, we're trying to maintain that social distancing even in the locker rooms. But yes, kids that are here and working out and they're staying face-to-face instruction, we are encouraging them, please take showers. I know your teachers would appreciate it as well. Yes, and there will be plenty of space, plenty of soap, plenty of opportunities. The coaches are going to continue to navigate through how to do that in a manner that's safe for all of them. But yes, that's a great question.
And again, all students could participate in clubs and sports, whether they're remote learning or face-to-face.
Absolutely, and that's the great thing, and that's, again, the way we're able to mitigate through this is a family could feel more comfortable with their kids staying on remote, but then come in the morning and practice and then go home, or come in the afternoon, practice and go home, and they're not here during the middle of the day, and so they get to practice with their teammates. But that's a great question.
Kind of where I was going with Amanda's question. She has a daughter that's a freshman doing synchronized learning, but is in athletics and principles of law. Basically, she's worried that she'll be removed from these classes if her learning is online and not attending the classes. Again, there is no penalty.
No, absolutely not. I'm trying to finish reading the question. No, absolutely not. No, that she'll be perfectly fine. I'll tell you what, I know our principal's a law teacher, very pro kids being highly involved in as many things as they can potentially be. In fact, all of our teachers are. And so your child will not have a problem at all being able to. I think the biggest thing that kids, what's great about it is being highly involved like that, is learning how to balance and how to stay organized, right? And how to prioritize your time when you're at home. And if you have projects and work to do, and being able to balance that with athletics or extracurriculars, whether it be band, choir, theater, debate, UIL activities, color guard, JROTC, that's the advantage that kids get by being in that, is they really learn how to navigate through those challenges. Because when they go to college and they get a part-time job, but they're going to school full-time, and things going on in their personal life, but they still have to balance time to study on their own, and they still have to be able to balance time to do their schoolwork. So it does a lot of great things for kids. So I'm glad your child's heavily involved like she is. We encourage all students to do that.
Do you know if the bus pickup is going to be and drop off, or is it going to be students door to door, or are they going to?
It's the same as it has always been. So those drop off pickup locations that transportation had previously established, I would encourage you to go to the transportation website on the ecisd.net, go to the finder, and when you type in your address and what grade your kid is in, or what school your child goes to, it will tell you exactly the location the pickup spot is at and what time approximately. And I also encourage you to download Here Comes the Bus app. Fix your radius, how far out you want it to go, and it'll send your child. If you have I had my own child download the app as well, so she gets an alert on her phone when the bus is pulling into the neighborhood. You'll get an alert even when the bus is there or when the bus is dropping off in the afternoon. So I download the Here Comes the Bus app and put in your child's information, and you can get alerts. Have your child do the same, but go to the transportation website and go to TransFinder and put in your address, and it'll tell you exactly the time. I know they've been working diligently on making sure that they're as accurate as they can be on that. And this week has given them the opportunity to practice that as well, since we've had kind of a soft reentry with small groups of students on campus.
So I'm gonna do two more questions and then a comment. And this is one I've seen before. Can a student wear a face shield instead of a mask?
I think preference really matters for the child. I will say, depending on what you look at, some CDC guidance says a mask is still best option, even with a shield. But obviously a shield provides a level of protection, and if certain students may do better with a shield based on their own unique personality than necessarily a mask. So I honestly think that as long as we have some kind of face covering, we're in a good place. Again, I think what I would encourage anyone to do is just continue to look at the research. And the problem with that is we've all experienced it. We've read the research today, and next week the research tells us something different. So it's kind of like, what's the right answer? So I'll say that, face coverings are great. If it's a face shield, I know that many of our teachers will be using that, because if they're working specifically with language learners or auditory impaired students, they'll be wearing a face shield so you can see the mouth and the lips moving. But yes, a face shield would work.
All right, this will be the last question. Speaking of football, we were talking football earlier. Is there a new homecoming date?
There is, but I don't remember what it is. I apologize.
Oh, Principal. Okay.
We had a few things going on. There is, I will be transparent due to our current circumstances and the shutdown. Right now it looks like there's only 8 games, not counting the playoffs. And so the schedule, I do believe, is on the athletic website, and you can go to the Rank 1, and it'll be on there. I am terribly apologetic that I don't have what date our homecoming game is on. I know that obviously based on social distancing, homecoming will even look quite a bit different, and I don't think everybody will have a chance to come home for the stadium and for the game, because we all won't fit like we used to. But we'll encourage you. We are going to be streaming football games live, and so they're working on putting that platform together and communicating that, and that's including all varsity sports as best as possible, so families can have extended families, or even those who are former East Central Hornets, and once a Hornet, always a Hornet. They can watch their homecoming game from home, which they may get a better seat in the house when it's all said and done sometimes too. But I apologize. I don't have that date memorized. So thank you, Brandon, for throwing me under the bus on that question.
All right. So last thing is, it's a comment, and it really, I love seeing this. Thank you. You have made us feel confident that I made a good decision in sending my student back to school. Before I let you have the final word here, Mr. McKay, that is why we're doing the Facebook Lives. I don't know if there's any other district that's really doing it, where we're wrangling in our superintendent and our principals to come on and grill them for an hour and a half. And I think that just speaks volumes to our administration here at the East Central, to be that transparent and to answer sometimes some very tough questions on the Q&A part. So I love seeing that. It shows that the Facebook Lives are working. But Mr. McKay, I'll let you take us out of here.
Well, thank you, Ms. Benavides, for that, for those kind words. We take a lot of pride in doing what we can to take care of our kids and treat them like they're our own, and love each and every one of them, and doing everything we can to also make sure that our staff and our community feels safe. We feel that it's a moral obligation that we have, and to try to build the best learning environment for every single student. And we really mean it when we say it all means all. And we know everybody is coming from a different place with COVID, and we want to honor each and every place that people are coming from. And we just want to let you know that we have an open posture, that we know that we have a lot that we can learn. We know that not everything is going to be perfect. We know that we're going to have to adjust on the fly on certain things as we learn and go through. And we are asking our teachers to continue to have faith in the process, but also practice patience, flexibility, and grace with themselves and each other and administration. And we're going to ask the same, for our parents with us. We know that we're not going to be perfect, and we're going to constantly reflect on things that we can do better. And again, we know our shortcomings, and once we identify those, that self-awareness helps us to get better. And then the key is for us to act upon those areas that we know we can grow and get better. But we're really excited. I will tell you, our teachers have been talking about, they're just excited to see their kids back in their classrooms, even though that will look different. And they've worked very hard to stand up the remote learning platforms right now. And they're excited for this new endeavor of how to toggle between synchronous instruction and face-to-face. And we're going to continually work to get better in that area. But again, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us on Facebook and YouTube. And we're always here for you. So please give us a call. Again, if we don't call you right back or we don't answer right away on the email, just please know that the volume sometimes is great, but we will get back to you. And we'll do everything we can to continue to serve our students and our community with the love and respect that every person deserves. So thank you, Brandon, for this opportunity. And I had a great time doing it.
All right. And thank you for everyone for watching. And we'll see you soon for another Facebook Live.